Welcome to Week in Horror.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The only podcast that will feed your horror need.
The need to feed.
With JL.
Yeah, I'm a fucking masochist. I'll watch that shit.
Eugene.
Somebody has to be the sex symbol, I'm sorry.
Alex.
Shit, I just demonetize this forever.
And Johnny O.
How do you like that shit? Got halfway through the monologue before unmuting myself. Golly, it's one of them fucking days.
With industry guests.
Hi, this is Richard Oakes, Director of Host.
Hey, this is Adam Leader, Director of Host.
This is Matthew Mark Hunter.
I'm Donna Nelly.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
And this is Week in Horror.
And you're listening to Week in Horror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
News, trivia, and more.
One by one, we will take you.
Join our live show Wednesdays at 7 Central, youtube.com/weekinhorror, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Week in Horror. Stay scared.
Oh, well. Eugene is not here.
Yes, Eugene is on his way.
Well, that being said, welcome back, horror fans. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, and that means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast. The only podcast with the best meat pies on Fleet Street. And if you're listening to us,
where do I come up with this shit? I swear.
Oh man. And if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast host, don't forget that you can join us here for our live show on our YouTube channel so you too can interact directly with a live chat, flex your horror knowledge, and even win some trivia prizes. It's a lot of fun. You should do it. This week, we're covering select films released in horror history, October 10th through October 16th. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm not Eugene, but with me here are Eugene and JL.
How's it going, everyone?
I'm actually Johnny O.
You are Johnny O. And what was it? Eugene got held up doing some ADR for a project he's currently working on, and he got kind of stuck in the studio. So he is hauling butt. And he just sent me a message a moment ago saying that he would be ready in 5. So he's got to fire up his system and make sure everything's good. So he will be joining us here in just a moment. But that's okay, because we have people to say hi to. And we got stuff to talk about that is interesting. There's actually 2 things now, because someone brought something up in the live stream here, or the live chat, that I want to address, which is something kind of interesting. So first and foremost, let's take a look at who's in the live chat right now. We've got Tony Regine is in the house, as he is first. Good to see you, Tony Regime. Thank you so much for joining us. Surf is in the house. Good to see you. Thank you so much. As a matter of fact, while I'm doing this, bam, let's kick that off, because I want to make sure that all of our awesome patrons are listed up in that cool little banner that I made, which is, I think is cool. I like that banner.
Yeah, it was really hard to make that banner, wasn't it?
It was super hard. I had to type everybody's names in. So Surf, good to see you. Surf was second. Mystique is in the house, as turd, as the Irish would say. And Nerd Journal. Nerd Journal's in the house. Good to see you. Wrote it no last name. Gabby to you, sir. And Donnie Does That says, hey, everybody. Good to see you, Donnie Does That. Travis Brown says, hey, horror nerds. Good to see you, Travis. Ivy Gentry's in the house. Charlie Welch is there, the only man you never make a bet with on the internet. Good to see you, Charlie Welch.
I make a bet with everybody all the time. Charlie, I'll make a bet with you right now. I'll bet you 100 pesos. 100,000 pesos. That you'll get that reference.
Oh, no, it's I'm focused on something else, man. Why do you always show me shit when I'm in the middle of something else?
I thought that was a game. Isn't that the game?
Anyhow, sarcasm. Good to see you, sarcasm.
Weird random quotes like you give me, and if I don't get it, I get minus a point. If you don't get it, you get minus a point.
Sarcasm's in the house. Good to see you. Says he's working and lurking. Good to see you, sarcasm.
I can't believe you didn't get 100,000 pesos.
Mallory is in the house. Good to see you, Mallory. and the George said. See here says, hello, beautiful peeps. Good to see you. And the George said, and that is it. I see that's who we've got so far. Ooh, Ivy Gentry says, I considered starting an Elm Street marathon earlier, but worried I'd forget Week in Horror. Oh,
well, depending on what time you started. If you started it around, let's say 6, maybe 6.5 hours ago, it would put you right about 5, and you can just skip that one and watch this show, and then get back into number 6,
and then jump right back to Freddy's Dead.
Yeah,
gotcha. Ivy Gentrace love the Sweeney Todd reference. Thank you very much. I don't know where I try to come up with a new one every week. So sometimes I'm sitting here like staring at it like I gotta be creative. I gotta find some reference, and sometimes it's hard. Sometimes they pop in. There's just so much horror shit up in this noggin of mine. I don't know where I store it all,
I still can't believe you don't know 100,000 pesos. It's not a horror film.
Three Amigos?
There you go.
Okay. All right. Tony Regime says, my guess for the trivia is Lon Chaney. Well,
not
I guess
too far off, actually.
So we will find out. And Charlie Welch has said that he has just started Squid Game, which is a new series on Netflix, Korean series, which is about a bunch of destitute or financially destitute individuals who are given an opportunity to win a ton of money by playing kids games that have lethal consequences for those that fail.
Whatchamacallit? It's like Man's Dangerous Game meets
or Most Dangerous Game?
Man's Most Dangerous Game meets what would you say? What would you say? Like The Toy with Richard Pryor?
That was a funny ass movie, him and Jackie Gleason.
That was a good one.
Travis Brown says, hey, JL, got my poster from the giveaway from 2 weeks ago. Shipping, man, but I'm glad it finally arrived. I hope it looks good.
I got stuff that still hasn't shipped that I sent out like 2 weeks ago.
I know, right? It's crazy out there. So this is interesting. So while we're waiting for Eugene, 2 things that we want to dive into, and one of them being Squid Game.
Hang on, it was 3 minutes, 5 minutes ago.
Snatch.
Well, that was a given. That was a given, part of the game. Yeah.
2 minutes, Turkish. Hey, Jew. Good to see you. Says hello, everyone. All right. So
no, that says hello, every hun.
Every hun, but I'm assuming he said one.
No,
he meant one.
We're part of his honeys.
Nerd Journal says someone recommended Midnight Mass last week, and I got to say it was very interesting. Has some serious King vibes, but Flanagan is just a good director. Yes, Midnight Mass is an absolutely amazing show. My wife and I binged it, and wow, absolutely stunning. It's a little bit of a slow burn because it has the usual mystery as it burns. It just kind of like builds up into what is actually going on. I have to admit, I kind of figured out what was going on by episode 3, and I think it's only because of this encyclopedic kind of knowledge of horror films and just recognizing particular tropes as they push through. I thought that maybe Flanagan was going to go in a particular direction with it. The illusion of what, he was going to be like, what if Christ was actually this? Like, Jesus Christ was actually,
what if God was one of us?
And I thought he was going to go the direction, but he didn't necessarily do that. But I did really enjoy the examination of essentially what, humans, just the human nature in the response to something so profound as what's going on in Midnight Mass. I don't want to give too much away for those who haven't seen it, but I strongly recommend that you watch it. It should be required viewing because as far as acting, as far as filmmaking goes, as far as the choices made in writing, you can't get a better example. Mike Flanagan, another home run for Mike Flanagan after the success after like Dr. Sleep and Hush and the incredible films that he has created. Strongly recommend this one. It's really
I always think he did Gerald's Game, but he didn't do Gerald's Game, right?
I thought Flanagan did do.
I always mix that one up with somebody
because
I always say,
Gerald's Game, Mike Flanagan. Yeah, Mike Flanagan. Yep.
Okay, I thought so. Yeah. Okay, somebody else I must have gotten mixed up with Gerald's Game.
He's so good. God, I mean, you talk
I gotta
about.
say, when I first watched Gerald's Game, I watched it because Carly Gambino was half naked the whole time, but I had no expectations of it. I hadn't read the source material, which is odd for me because I've read a lot of Stephen King. But when I first got into it, I didn't even think I didn't even know it was a Stephen King work, and I sat down because again, Carla's
Carly Gugino,
she's very, very, very nice to look at. Started watching this thing thinking, man, this is pretty fucking good. I don't know who's directing this shit, but this is pretty good. It's got real Stephen King vibe.
Oh yeah.
And then I started looking into it. I was like, oh, that's why it's got a Stephen King vibe, because it is Stephen King.
Because it's an adaptation. So I strongly recommend Midnight Mass.
That's another guy, by the way, that else, because we talked about Frank Darabont having some sort of mind meld with Stephen King. I think Mike Flanagan has a mind meld with Stephen King too.
He does. His adaptation of Dr. Sleep was phenomenal, and I think anybody who's a fan of The Shining will appreciate The Shining even more and Kubrick's work when you watch Dr. Sleep, because Mike Flanagan was actually able to bridge, because everyone, we all know, I mean, it's horror, kind of legend that Stephen King notoriously hated the Stanley Kubrick version of The Shining, but Mike Flanagan was able to come in there and bridge the divide between the two and actually bring them together. And
see what you did there.
I can't help it. I'm a whore. So, but yeah, definitely check out Midnight Mass. An absolute blast. Really, really fun, and just strongly recommended. And let me see here. Going down. So going down this, and I see the Eugene's popped in, but he's getting ready. So we'll add him in as quick as we can. And let's take a look. So the first thing I want to talk about was, Johnny, you found the funniest fucking thing I've read in a long time.
I don't know if it's funny haha or funny sad. Maybe
I think
a combination.
Both.
Yeah,
I think it's both. It's funny haha to horror fans.
Yeah,
but it's funny sad is kind of like an indictment of the generation that we currently live in.
Yeah, I came across this. Yeah, right. I came across this on Facebook of all places, of course. And by the way, marked safe from the Facebook crisis of 2021.
Yes, marked safe.
I had no idea it was even down. I had no clue the Facebook Messenger was down. I was like, oh, that's particularly quiet on my phone today, because that's good.
I know, right?
I'm here.
Let me add. Looks like Eugene is ready. I'm going to pop in real quick. Hey, Eugene.
There he is. Why do you always look confused?
Eugene is here. So Johnny's
mic settings, Eugene.
Can you hear me, right?
Yeah. You okay? You're good. So Johnny found this hilarious thing via Facebook, and I wanted to share it with our live audience because I haven't encountered anything this funny in quite a while. So,
all right.
I think we talked about it a little bit in the admin chat. But yeah, so here I am. I pick up the phone and I saw, what the hell? Somebody posted in one of the horror Facebook groups that I'm in. And I pulled this thing up, and it's like this, it's like a picture of a post. And I look at it, and I kind of briefly I looked at it really quick, and I said, wait, what the fuck did I just read? So I'll go back and read it, and it's a petition on change.org I had to read it several times, and you'll know why when JL puts it up on the screen here in a second. But I had to read it a couple times because I read this thing thinking, is somebody really, like, this has got to be a prank. Somebody's like making this shit up. This is a joke. But somebody petitioned to remove the scene in the upcoming, this one right here, to remove the firefighters from the Halloween, or the slaughtering of the firefighters from the Halloween Kills movie. 42 people have signed this. Are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
Are you serious?
Shit, you're not.
So this is, I want to read, I'll go ahead and scroll down a little because I want to read this out.
Okay.
All right, here we go. I want the scene in the new movie Halloween Kills where they show the slaughtering of firefighters. I want the scene in the new movie Halloween Kills where they show the slaughtering of firefighters. Whereas that is a subject verb that is technically a correct sentence. I don't think that's quite what he meant to say. It is wrong because firefighters have been lured to houses fire.
wait.
No. I'm reading this word. I'm reading this verb verbatim.
Yeah.
It is wrong because firefighters have been lured to houses fire and murdered by the person who set the fire. And it's wrong that Michael killed the firefighters with the gear from the other firefighters he killed. As a soon-to-be firefighter, I find it very offensive, and so does my mom and dad, who are retired firefighters. So I want that scene taken out of the movie. Michael didn't have to kill them in a way. They saved him, so he should have saved the two firefighters in the house and went on his way to kill sister. There is no reason for that horrible, disgusting scene. especially since it has happened in real life. Like I said before, firefighters have been lured to house fires and killed by some psycho in real life.
That's a
Jesus Christ, that was a chore.
Is that the wrong reel too? Is that REEL?
No, it's REAL. So he actually got
okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, English is hard for.
I'm hoping that this is not a native speaker of English. I'm hoping this person is like a, Turkish person or something.
So yes, I found this to be hilarious. Johnny pointed it out to me, and I got to look at this. So obviously there are people who have signed this, but there are comments here. And it's like I got to see. And some of these comments are some of the comments are absolutely priceless. So let me bump this down. Okay, so some of the comments that were here, and just to go through this, so there's not
wait. Don't share the comments. I want the actual reaction live. Because if you give me the comments and then we read them on the show, I'm already going to know ahead of time.
Well, we read them yesterday during the
I haven't.
No, I read them to you. Oh no, wait, no, I read them to Johnny. That's right. Oh. Well, this will be your live reaction, won't it?
Oh, wait, we're not live on the show right now.
Yeah. We are.
Oh.
Did you not know that? Eugene didn't know that we were hot.
Hey, Eugene,
look at or something at the top.
Eugene, look at the top left of the screen.
The top left of the corner says, yes, the top left of the corner says live.
Wait, stop it. Damn it, JL. Look at the top left of the screen and read that word for me.
Yeah. You see that there's a red rectangle up there. You see it? You see the red rectangle? And then there's like a counter in it, like a microwave going in reverse.
So for the audience, I was supposed to read the intro for the episode. And so that's why I didn't think we were live, because I'm preparing myself to read the intro for it. So apparently I've already read it. And
you did read it, and you did a fantastic job.
An amazing job.
But I gotta say, you sound far, far away.
So while he's looking at that, I want to I want the audience to hear these. So these are some of the comments that were on the change.org petition to remove the the opening scene where the firefighters get killed from the movie.
Now remember, don't tell Eugene yet. He wants his live reaction.
I want it live. I want super live. More live than we're live now.
So Solid Saturn says, get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. Stop trying to ruin Halloween kills for people. The scene isn't getting removed. Quit being so sensitive.
Yep.
Jacob Atherton says, it's a movie. It's not real. These firefighters didn't actually die. Michael Myers literally kills anybody he sees. In Halloween 4 and 5, he killed a bunch of cops and no one said anything about it. Get over it. Luke Knudsen says, it's a movie, you fucking pussy. Dahlia Meyer says, dude, grow the fuck up and stop being a pussy. Oh my god, my parents agree with me. STFU. No one gives a fuck what you and your parents think about it. It's a movie, not real life. Grow some balls, pussy. LMAO.
Charlie Welch is the best. These sort of people wear helmets in the bathtub.
Brett Sass said, shut up the fuck up. It's a movie, you whiny bitch. It's a movie, in all caps. Get over your self-righteous self. I'm signing because there is no way this happens, but it's comical that you're so offended.
So we got some hate signatures too.
So The Shape himself says, Jesse Streeter, you, sir, are a fucking pussy. Grow a sack, fill it with some balls, and sprout a dick and grow the fuck up. It's just a movie. David Smart says, this is a stupid petition. Ya is soft as fuck. Ya stupid cocksuckers. And my favorite is John Towers, who said, can we start a petition to end this petition? This is dumber than Halloween Resurrection. So yes, we had to bring this to attention that someone put a change.org petition out there to try and stop or try and have, I guess, the scene removed from a film that is slated to be released
like 2 weeks.
Well, today's the 6th, and it's set for October 15th.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Yeah,
so like 8 days.
9 days. Yeah.
Like 9 days. The movie drops streaming. Trust me, they're not removing the scene.
Danny McBride's all of a sudden going to see this change.org thing, like, let's hold press, guys. We got a Karen.
So yeah, he's going to be studio. Could I get $2 million so I can cut out?
So I can recut this
stuff. Yeah. Recut it.
Nerd Journal says, about to be a firefighter. My ass, that dude's 8.
That's what I'm thinking. About to be a firefighter in like 15 years.
Tony Regime says he'd lose his shit at send more paramedics in Return of the Living Dead.
Send more cops.
or send more police. Or send more police. So good stuff. I thought that was a good. Travis Brown says dumber than Halloween: Curse of Michael Myers.
Hey now, that one had Paul Rudd in it, so
true. So that was funny stuff. I wanted to address that, and then another thing that was suddenly brought up because Squid Game was brought up. And I'm very curious about this because something got me. It's obviously, I mean, you could say it's a horror show. It has horror elements. I think it's really more of a psychological thriller with some pretty graphic elements in it as far as like the murdering of the
Isn't that like the textbook definition of a horror film though?
Yeah, just that it's not the primary focus of it. The primary focus is the psychological aspect. It's basically on the contestants with all the horror stuff added in. So you could say it's a psychological horror. I think you go that direction. The big thing is that what I was reminded. Now you brought up like the most dangerous game, which is about humans hunting humans,
right?
And but what really kind of got me was there was a couple other horror films. There was a horror movie called Would You Rather, which was essentially
Isn't that like a play on that stupid game?
Exactly. Would you rather do this or would you rather do this? And it's going to be, and essentially that had extreme horror elements because it was, that had people like ripping their teeth out, slicing their eyeballs, doing crazy shit, essentially, would you rather do this, for a bunch of money? And then at the end of the movie, and then at the end of the movie, the protagonist who wins, she's doing it to try and get the money she needs in order to get her brother the treatment for his cancer. But the brother feels guilty because, his treatment basically the cost of his sickness, his illness has virtually bankrupted them, and he's going to die anyway. And he feels like he feels like he's dragging his sister down with him. Is a problem because she's not sick. She's lost everything. She lost her, her potential or, her future, just trying to take care of him. So he feels guilty about that. So she takes on this game or is given the opportunity to take on this game and try to win the money that she needs. Essentially, it's a shit ton of money too. And the game is hosted by Jeffrey Combs, which makes it awesome. And he tries to, and he basically runs into the game. She eventually ends up surviving, getting the money, only to leave, go home, and find out that her brother's committed suicide.
This is a play on an old collection of short stories. Like one was this guy, I forget what it was. It's like he had this old pocket watch, this antique pocket watch that his great grandfather got from somewhere that passed it down to him, but he had it on this piece of ribbon, and his wife, who had this really long, beautiful hair, said, well, we got to put that on an actual gold chain, and they kind of try to do all this stuff to get to this gold chain, and she ends up having her hair cut, like chopping off all of her hair and donating it so she can get the money to get this gold chain for his watch, but he ends up selling his watch to get her these, ornate silver, like hair clip things for her hair. And then there's another one where I forget what happened. Like this lady borrows a piece of jewelry from her wealthy friend.
Oh yeah, and then loses it.
Loses it and does everything, like bankrupts herself, bankrupts her family, and her friend's like, that was just costume jewelry.
Yeah, it was a pearl necklace. She essentially she borrows a pearl necklace to go to a party, loses it, and then then it was like, oh my god, I've lost the necklace. I got to replace it. She and her husband literally destroyed the family financially to buy a pearl necklace to replace it. And then her friend sees her again and was like, "What happened to you?" What's like what's going on? It's like, because she literally wrecks herself.
Like everything, yeah.
And she's like,
her marriage, everything.
And then eventually she brings the pearl necklace back. She says, "I had to replace your pearl necklace." She said, "Sweetheart, it was just costume jewelry. It was paste.
Yeah,
the pearls were fake."
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of a cool little There was a cool little collection. There's a whole bunch of them together.
So what I found interesting is that Squid Game, which like I said, it takes there are other things that have come out in American horror, like Would You Rather. Then of course, if you want to reference to Saw, to the Saw series, like something like
Truth or Dare, right?
Truth or Dare, Saw. Would You Rather. Travis Brown's essentially it was Survivor. It was Survivor meets Saw is essentially what it is. But the thing that struck me was Squid Game is literally number 1 on Netflix. Like number 1. It's like it's one of the biggest series, if not the biggest series they've ever had on Netflix. It is certainly the biggest Korean one that they've ever had on Netflix.
I thought this was foreign.
Or foreign, yeah, the biggest.
Well, no, yeah. I just can remember.
But yeah, as far as the streaming deals, it's put up the biggest numbers they've ever had. So, this is not it's not a new idea. In fact, we just reference a bunch of stuff,
right,
where this comes from. Why is this story? Why is this story?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why is this story like in this version suddenly this big when this is not a new concept by any stretch of the imagination? This story has been told in horror before. In fact, it is a popular horror trope.
Yep.
Misunderstandings leading to calamity. Your hubris leading to calamity. These types of existential problems, like the trolley problem, like what would you do? Would you rather do, making these kinds of decisions? How much are you willing to sacrifice in order to gain what you want? And is it even worth getting what you want after you've gotten it? Is it a Pyrrhic victory, or did you actually gain something from it? And going through this stuff, suddenly Squid Game is hot. And I was kind of like, well, wait a minute. Because I watched it, I thought it was great. But I was like, I've seen this before. What is it about Squid Game that made it number 1?
It's just execution.
Just the execution of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the execution. I haven't seen it all the way through yet because I'm just starting it. But I did see the red light, green light scene that got everybody reference on it. And I mean, what is it, like 20 original stories total? And then everybody just tells it their own way. It's just, it was the way it was done, the execution, when you have the giant kid that turns around and sings a lullaby, and then it has a computer eye that goes and searches for movement during the red light, green light thing. Production design, the production value is extremely high on it. Execution. That's just it. Execution
makes the top. So I found it to be interesting that, so there is some truth to, as long as you can execute appropriately, even an old story can be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as the execution is strong. So there's some truth. There's some truth of it right there. So for those of you, who are wondering, is like, this is an old one. Why is it like this? It's in how it's not always the story you tell. Sometimes it is. It's not always the story you tell. Sometimes it's how you tell that story. Very, very important.
It's not the size of the boat. It's the motion of the ocean, baby.
Okay.
You can't row across an ocean.
I know your wife likes to tell you that. Nerd Journal says, well, if 1.5 million signatures didn't get Amber Turd taken from Aquaman 2, I got to say I figured 42 signatures 9 days before has a real chance. Yeah, I doubt that change.org petition is going to happen. Road Noseline says that's the base plot for the Running Man, bringing it back to King. It is true. Running Man is also a version of this. And H. Jasper E, we saw you creep in, sitting down, slowly sitting down in the last row. We saw you, but thank you so much for being here. H. Jasper E, our latest patron, our most recent patron. So thank you, H. Jasper. Really do appreciate it. John Fabiano is up in the house. Good to see you. Where did he go? Said, yes, I finally made it to the live show. Good to see you. We haven't even gotten into the movies yet. We were literally just shooting the shit about some interesting things. So about to jump into the movies here in just a second. And I see Daryl M says, have we talked about Silver Bullet yet? Nope, we haven't even jumped into the movies yet. So we are about to do that. Charlie Welch says, Asian stuff is definitely improving at a high level. I loved #Alive. #Alive was good.
That was a good
Very
one.
good.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's a nice twist on the tire trope, the zombie trope.
Yeah.
Very nice twist.
All right. So
I wanted to mention the fact that we almost got one of the coolest things in the world.
Really?
We were really close.
What
We were
was
really
that?
close. Kane Hodder as Freddy Krueger.
Oh, that's right.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
I recently found out that Kane Hodder, I don't know if he was approached. I know he auditioned, but I don't remember if he went in or something, if the New Line called him. But that was a thing for a while. That Kane Hodder was going to be Freddy Krueger, and then they said, "Nah, let's go with this skinny guy instead."
It's interesting. I mean, it's Kane Hodder as Freddy Krueger. I don't know.
He would have looked like Super Freddy in Part 5.
Yeah, he would have. I mean, ultimately, I think they made the right decision with Robert Englund, obviously, because Robert Englund gave us one of the greatest villains of all time.
He's got more personality.
He does.
Yeah.
I just don't think Kane Hodder he's right for that style. Whereas physically, he's got great emotive capabilities. I just don't know about line delivery because I've never seen him, outside of this couple lines in Wishmaster. But
If you compare the two, like what Robert Englund brought to the role of Freddy Krueger, just the way he speaks, the way he acts, his emotive capability as far as as line delivery and his comedic timing. This is all. I mean, all of this is fantastic. Kane Hodder is a master of bodily expression. What he does with his posture, what he does with the way he moves, with the way he breathes,
and his crazy eyes, which I got to see firsthand.
Yes, and his crazy eyes, and just the way he turns and looks at something. He's just he knows his body so well. And he's willing to sacrifice himself for the play. So Robert Englund. I would say this is the difference between a stuntman and an actor. Yes. And it's I think that they're the best examples of it. Stuntman, actor. Oh, Kane Hodder is the Terminator of horror.
Some people would say the Terminator is the Terminator.
I would say the Terminator is the Terminator of horror because the Terminator was a horror film.
Some people don't see the Terminator as a horror film, though, right?
That's a horror film.
The first one most definitely. First one most definitely.
Okay, when the truck blows up and they're like on the ground, and all of a sudden the wreckage moves and like this fucking skeleton of the thing comes out, and it's like that's a horror movie.
Yeah, right, exactly. The never ending bad guy or the unstoppable bad guy?
Exactly. Yes.
The unstoppable force.
I think it became a horror movie when he punched through Brian Thompson.
Oh yeah,
was it Brian Thompson or Bill Paxton?
The very beginning. I can't remember. One of the two. Yeah,
when he just punched through the guy, it's like because there wasn't even a punch through scene in part 2.
Nope.
That was just like that. That was just Robert
finger.
Patrick. That was Robert Patrick going because they didn't want to reveal that he was liquid metal at the moment. So it was just like he just comes up and goes, I was like, oh, he punched into him and he killed him, just like in the first one. It's like, no, that was probably the liquid metal thing. That's why we didn't give it too much away. But in the first one, the guy comes at him and he's like, and you see like his fucking arm through him, and I was like, okay, this is a horror movie. The dude is like punching through human beings and shit. And the fact that nobody died in the opening bar scene in 2, which is why I consider Terminator 2 a sci-fi film. Terminator
sci-fi action,
It was a sci-fi action film. Terminator, the first Terminator was a sci-fi horror film.
Yeah, very much like Alien.
Mm-hmm. Very much.
We got movies to talk about.
We do have movies to talk about.
Actual movies on the script.
Actual movies. I know people are chomping at the bit to get to these movies. So, Johnny, what do we got up first?
Kick us off.
All right. Well, I got to say, we have what happened during my collegiate career. We've got Sorority House Massacre. This is a 1986 American biographical film written and directed by Johnny O I'm kidding. 1986 American slasher film written and directed by Carol Frank. The film follows a sorority pledge who experiences deja vu in the sorority house when a murderer begins killing the residents over Memorial Day weekend. It's so much fun. Directed by Carol Frank, written by Carol Frank, starring Angela O'Neill, Wendy Martell, Pamela Rossett, Nicole Rio. Lots of fun, lots of slasher, lots of boobies.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing that's interesting about what I dug about this one. So there was something to be said. Okay, when we talk about the slasher films, especially slasher films of the late 70s and the 80s, there's a thematic element to these things that we all recognize as the idea of the unvirtuous being punished, and then the evil being overcome by the virtuous. And this is where we get the trope of the final girl, so on and so forth. The massacre genre, like the subgenre, the massacre was started with, it pretty essentially started with, you could kind of say the Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of kicked it off, but that one has depth to it, and I would say has story attributes to it that don't exist in the massacre subgenre.
There's more of a plot in Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Exactly. Whereas in these ones, like these movies, there's no mystery here. In fact, like in this movie, in Sorority House Massacre, you know who the killer is from the start.
Yeah, they tell you, right? It's like within the first 10 minutes of the film, you know who the killer is.
So legit, it's no frills, slasher sexploitation fare. That is all this film serves. There's all these types of movies serve. This is what the subgenre went to. And I found it to be interesting because, the slashers that we love, and of course, these types of movies, they have their fan base. But the slasher genre itself, because it has those narrative tropes, it has the trope of the virtuous overcoming evil, and then the backstory of that, or is it twist on who exactly is the killer, why are they doing this? These all make it very, very interesting and engaging, like Friday the 13th, Halloween, stuff like that, and films of that nature. But in these particular ones, I kind of viewed them as the escalation of where the genre goes. Because remember, whenever your movie comes out, the next one or the next film is always got to top it. You've always got to top it. It's always got to be bigger. It's always going to be better. Just you think Phantasm to Phantasm 2. You think Halloween to Halloween 2. You think Friday the 13th to Friday the 13th Part 2. It becomes more intricate, more blood, more body. Sometimes there are even explosions.
Right.
Okay, because we've got to up the ante. You got to up the stakes. You know who the killer is, and you know what's going to go down. Now it's just a matter of how we execute it. That execution that Eugene was talking about. Whereas in this one, this was not about that. This is literally the slasher genre pushed to its most extreme, where the only reason we're watching it is so we can see tits, so we can see ass, and so we can see people murdered in really hilarious ways.
Right. With
the goofiest weaponry you could possibly come up with.
Yeah, so the idea of this is just to push the envelope, basically. How far can we go before we get that MPAX rating or that NC-17 rating?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at like a movie like this, first of all, we got to think the production value. This is a cheap film, and it looks like a cheap film.
Yes, it
like
does.
it really. This was released in 1986, and it looks like it was filmed in 1975.
Well, you got to use the old equipment because it's much cheaper to rent.
It's much cheaper. Like, I mean, he walks in a much cheaper. I mean, when he walks into the hardware store, it looked like they just randomly walked into a hardware store and just, hey, can we shoot just him killing an owner real quick? And yeah, sure, I'll take 5 minutes, and they just get in left on it. And so when you get movies like this, they're not going to win on the depth. They're not going to win on the production value. They're not going to win on the characterization. They know they're not going to win on those things. So they have to do the only way that they can do is let's make the kills bigger. We got to show the tits. We got to show the exploitation part, because no matter what kind of quality and resolution that boobs and genitalia look like, people will watch them. They just will.
Right.
On it. It could be 16 millimeter. It could be 6K. People will watch it.
Sex and violence is what it's about.
Yep.
Exactly.
So you give the audience what they want. You give them what they need, and what they need is what they come to the theater to see is sex and violence. That's where it is ultimate. That is where the genre is ultimately pushed to. But I think we can agree that there is kind of a law of diminishing returns on this, which is why the massacre subgenre didn't last really all that long. It's still there. And then you occasionally get these kind of movies that pop up on Amazon Prime or on Netflix. They're made by the kind of the lower production arms of major movie houses, just so they can keep churning out movies. They're cheaply made. They're quickly made, typically shot in between 3 and 6 weeks, where they put these things together real fast and they throw them out there just as fodder. It's just to keep feeding the horror beast. Right. And that's pretty much where this genre relegated to. It was kind of hot, kind of like, whoa, holy shit, look at the violence of this. Slumber Party Massacre, Sorority House Massacre. And then they each got 2 and 3 sequels to them. And they keep pushing and pushing and pushing until the law of, I would say the law of diminishing returns. Because just like torture porn, okay? And I think an even better example, just like the music industry. You think about the music industry, how we go from the escalation of that, how we go from like the Beatles to give me a good one. You're the music guy.
Well, it depends
as far
what you're
as the
talking
escalation
about.
of constantly one-upping the before, how you keep getting more like you're like Rob Zombie to Marilyn Manson to so on and so forth.
More like Trent Reznor to Rob Zombie to Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, exactly. So you
Slipknot, and then now, that whole kind of scary rock, scary metal thing doesn't work anymore. It went away for a bit. Kind of made a small comeback with doom metal and bands like Ghost, but that was just silly. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
And so you get this law of diminishing returns. So there can't be another Marilyn Manson because that's spent. There can't be another Rob Zombie because that's spent. There can't be another Gwar because we've been there, done that for as long as we have.
Well, you say that, but there's always going to be that little genre. Because if we want to be honest about it, that part of music started with Alice Cooper.
Agreed. You can trace these back, but even then you can go even further back and see the step-by-step increase. As it's like, well, this act is out there. Now we need to go one step further. Let's do this. Then we go one step further. Let's do this. And then further and further and further. You could even say that Twisted Sister would invariably lead to Marilyn Manson. As far as stage depiction and the characterization.
Maybe.
Putting a character up there that is so counterculture that it would make people kind of recoil.
And
just by the imagery.
No, for sure. But that's where I think you might be a little bit wrong when you talk about the law of limited or diminished return, because these things don't change. I mean, they don't stop. They just change into something different.
They do. But the amount of time they can remain, amount of time they remain relevant becomes shorter and shorter and shorter until we have to escalate to the next one.
We say that, but if you think about it, we still to this day talk about films that came out in the 70s. The 80s, we were talking about Nightmare on Elm Street. We talked about, but these are the birth of these genres, right? So there's going to be a point to where it starts. It will always be relevant. Like we'll always talk about in the horror genre. We'll always talk about those seminal films. Jason, Freddy.
But do you think that we're talking about them because of the law of diminishing returns?
No. Well,
we go back to the beginning because it's like, you know what? Let's go back to the original stuff. The stuff that inspired all these things, because all we're seeing is just the escalation of the one up process. We need to one up this, and it's like, you know what? It gets tiresome, it gets boring, it gets tedious. Let's go back to the original stuff, the stuff that inspired all these things, the foundational horror films that we grew up with. We long for that nostalgia, because that nostalgia replaces the feeling that we're not getting anywhere now.
It's not necessary. I don't know if it would go full like, oh, we have to kind of keep pushing it. It's more of what's the hot thing. So when you have Sorority House Massacre comes out, oh, massacre film, it's hot. And it's not necessarily like pushing the envelope, but it's just a trend. So if you're going to use music as an analogy, I wouldn't necessarily go through one stream of music. I would look more like how hair metal goes to grunge, to alternative, to new metal, because
that's what I was saying. Like if you look at the path of influence, it's not necessarily that that the massacre films are diminishing. More so it's that they're changing it to something different. They're influencing, those massacre films influenced Saw influenced the next thing. You know what I mean? There's those little bitty fibers of influence that these films, whereas we're never going to talk about Sorority House Massacre like it's one of the greatest horror films of all time, like we would with Nightmare on Elm Street and so on and so forth. But it still has its fibers interwoven into the history and the importance of these types of films. What happened when people said, all right, we had Tobe Hooper, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Oh man, that was really scary. What happens next? What's the next iteration of that? That's not Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Well, the thing that people really liked about it were the kills and then the bits of TNA and whatnot. So let's do a series of films focused strictly on that. And then people are gonna look back and say, well, that was kind of cool, but what's the story? What's the motivation behind this killer? Why is he doing this? Where's the story? You know what I mean? That's where these films kind of live on. And instead of dying, being diminished, it's more that the people who are consuming them pick up different influence or different inspiration from these films, and then they base their projects on that, which, I mean, again, so we're seeing not necessarily diminishing. I think it's the evolution of film.
Yeah.
Interesting. And it may be the adaptability,
right,
and the kind of connection to the human condition that enables horror to do that, kind of overcome that. Would you agree with that?
Probably.
To overcome that law of diminishing returns.
I think yes. Yeah, exactly. Because somebody's going to look at for instance, we took Nail Gun Massacre, right? And what do we do with that? We revamped it, we redid it, we gave it a modern look, a modern spin, and we allow that movie to be influential.
I mean, it is because you think of the stuff that the filmmakers back then, the world that they built and the world that they lived in when they created, say, the original Nail Gun in 1985. Times have changed. There's different influences. We can't go back. Yeah, sure, we can watch stuff that was made back then, but we'll also have the knowledge of the things that have made sense where they didn't.
Right.
So yeah, we can take Nail Gun Massacre, and then we can take other influences that came out in, say, the last 5 years, and we adapt it to how it would work today, which they can't because those films 5 years ago didn't exist in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a winding road as the genre moves forward.
Interesting. I like the idea, and I can go with that idea. The concept that what we always talk about horror being a reflection, the entire genre being a reflection of essential, or I say a kind of barometer for what ails society. That these things will constantly be coming up, allowing us to retell these stories, and like Rhoda No Last Name said, to modernize these older stories and kind of give a reflection as to what is currently going on, to tie them in to the current issues that we are facing as a society. And as those issues progress, sometimes they'll die off, sometimes they won't. Sometimes they just change states as we chug along through time. But I think that adaptability is what allows horror to overcome it. I mean, it's kind of like one of the endearing attributes of this genre and why we love it so much, because no matter what the story is being told, just like we were talking about how Squid Game it's literally just a retelling of something that we are really familiar with, it still speaks to us.
Mm-hmm.
And it speaks to us on that primal level.
And that's why horror is something that will continue to be on the forefront, because you have these other genres that will dip in and out right now, because comedies are not in right now. Martial arts films aren't in right now. Right now you're getting drama and biopics.
Right.
This happened. We want to follow Winston Churchill. We want to follow this famous person. Though that's the hot thing right now, but eventually those will roll off. And so all these other genres kind of come in and out. Swashbuckling movies are not in right now. Westerns are not in right now. People will still make them here and there, but they're not unless another Pirates of the Caribbean comes in to revamp a genre. It's you're just not going to see it. You're just not. But horror is so adaptable. No matter what, some subgenre of horror will always be in the front.
I like how you said swashbuckling.
Swashbuckling. Fuck, I love this genre. I really that's this is the reason that we love it so much. That's what makes it so I think what is that? What's the word I'm looking for, Johnny? Ubiquitous?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Very cool.
Yeah, I gotta say that well, that's neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. We're talking about the adaptability of film and the adaptability of the story. Random thoughts that goes in my head.
Yeah, the thing is, it hits so many different ways, and even though you'll have subgenres of horror that will come in and out, so slashers be big for a while, then they'll kind of fall off a little bit. Psychological come in and fall off. Sci-fi come in. So you'll have all these that will kind of come in and fall off, but overall, horror it moves on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I mean, getting back to massacre films, we have talked about the Sorority House Massacre, which, again, I want to remind everybody is what happened when I was in college. There are a bunch of these massacre films: Sorority House Massacre, Nail Gun Massacre,
Slumber Party Massacre.
Slumber Party Massacre, yep. And their sequels.
The Massacre in Jail's Pants. All those massacre films.
That's only on Taco Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's
Taco
true.
Tuesday.
When the house truly becomes a horror scene.
It's like that scene in Accepted where they walk into the bathroom for the first time. Well, that being said, what I wanted to do, I wanted to ask the audience, what is your favorite, be it Sorority House Massacre, be it Jail's Bathroom Massacre? What is your favorite massacre film or series? Do be sure to let us know at weekinhorror@gmail.com, in the comment section below, or in the side chat.
Hell yeah. All right. So we got a couple of comments on there. Oh, Charlie Welch says some deep insights tonight. I am aroused. Good to know, Charlie Welch. Thank you. Appreciate that so much. Archangel 3 says, hey, JL, Johnny O, and Eugene. Good to see you, Archangel 3. Thank you for joining us tonight. And Shinju says, and the massacre was to your condom budget.
It was.
Hilarious.
The budget kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. I mean, not the budget, but the actual money in the budget kept getting, because I never had to buy them. It switched over to my beer budget.
Okay.
Made it much more fun.
Much more friendly.
All right, who's next? What we got? Oh man, JL, you give yourself the easy ones. You always give yourself the easy ones.
Just because I happen to end up with all the ones that I love so very, very much does not say anything about how I write these scripts.
Not at all.
Yeah, not of course. No.
Just like well, I won't say that because we haven't released that one yet. Anyway.
So the next film on our list tonight released October 11th, 1985, and it's Stephen King's Silver Bullet. So yes, directed by Dan Attias and based on Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King, starring Corey Haim of the infamous Corys, Gary Busey and Everett McGill. The story essentially follows a young boy played by Corey Haim discovers that there is a werewolf living in their community, and he takes it upon himself to bring the beast down. So, an intriguing adaptation. I can first say, I will preface this, because when we talk about King adaptations, it's either fucking A or what the fuck.
Yeah.
So, and not it's either one of the two. Unfortunately, it either it's like amazing and then it's not so amazing.
Yeah.
And this one I think falls into the fucking A category. There were, despite the problems in its production, it did have a few things going for it, and I think predominantly
Gary Busey,
the wild genius of Gary Busey.
$60,000 of washed up cocaine.
I think because we talk, obviously we make jokes about Gary Busey and just the look, the wildness. But going back in his career, I've gone back and I've even after the accident, even after the motorcycle accident, he still had it. He could still deliver character performances that I was quite impressed with. I liked him in Predator 2. He was solid. I liked him in Surviving the Game with Rutger Hauer and Ice-T and Charles S. Dutton. He still is able to drop solid performances. And
Gary
I thought
Busey he's a solid actor. I mean, he is underrated. He really is. His antics get overshadow his. He's like the Dennis Rodman of acting.
Okay, that's
Okay, his off the court antics overshadow the fact that Dennis Rodman is by far the greatest rebounder of all time. One of the greatest basketball players to ever play the game. Somebody who had no problem defending anybody. Magic Johnson came back with AIDS, and the only person that would defend him was Dennis Rodman because he didn't give a fuck. He's, I'm playing here to play basketball. I'm not here to give a shit about you having AIDS, motherfucker. I'm gonna play. Same thing with Gary Busey. When he showed up for a performance, he showed up for a performance. Now, he may have been an asshole to work with. He may have been, hopped up on cocaine 24/7, 378 days a year, because that's how many days are in a fucking Gary Busey year. Whatever. But his performances on film. I have not seen a Gary Busey, even Rookie of the Year.
Right.
Oh yeah, I love.
He was good in that. His brooding characterization of that, of the past his prime pitcher. He was good. Solid performances. I've never seen him in anything where I was like, golly, you fucking suck, Gary.
Right. Agreed. Let me see here. So yeah, I saw that. Ooh, Nerd Journal says Cycle of the Werewolf is one King story I've never read. Hangs head in shame.
Don't feel bad. There's a lot of stories out there. Steven, people don't realize how large his freaking book of work is. Body of work.
Bibliography is the word you're looking for.
No, bibliography is not the word I'm looking for, because bibliography is like the list of references.
It's the list of your works, of your written works, is also your bibliography.
His body of work is better because
Travis Brown
he didn't just write books.
Travis Brown, the Ginger Dead Man versus the Wolf Man is pretty much what it is. But yes, and hello to Glober Mom. I saw Glober Mom popped in. Good to see you, Glober Mom. Thank you so much. But yes, and yes, Charlie Welch, the fight with Martin Riggs in the front yard in the rain, Lethal Weapon, absolutely amazing. And I see Chris Durham Music Channel, his popped in. He says his oeuvre. So, but yes, the wild genius of Gary Busey, and it has to be talked about. I loved one of the coolest things about this was that virtually everything his performance in this. I enjoyed his performance in this. I enjoyed his chemistry with Corey Haim. I enjoyed what he brought to the film a great deal. He was an interesting character to look at amongst what I would argue is kind of a bunch of two-dimensional things. I mean, Corey Haim brought what he had, but Corey Haim's a kid. He's playing a kid is essentially what he's doing.
Right.
Whereas everybody was kind of two-dimensional in this, just kind of playing the role of the mom, the role of the dad, the role of the law enforcement, so on and so forth. He brought nuance. He brought emotion. He brought he built his own kind of arc in the film, and it was all fucking ad-libbed.
I don't know if Gary Busey could do a two-dimensional character. Like I don't know.
He's got too much personality.
Yeah,
right.
Too much ends up coming through, because a lot of times he ends up being some of the most memorable characters. We talked about like Lethal Weapon and the fight scene. I loved him in Under Siege. I remember him more than I remember Steven Seagal in the film.
That's because Steven Seagal sucks.
Somebody brought it up. Charlie Welch in Fear and Loathing.
Yep.
When Gary Busey stopped him. Can I get a kiss? It's very lonely out here.
Was that the original Fast and Furious? What was that movie called?
Gone in 60 Seconds? No.
Originally, with Keanu Reeves.
Oh, Point Break.
Point Break.
Oh, I got you. Sorry, my bad.
He was the only thing that made me not look at Keanu Reeves that whole time, thinking, "Fuck, dude, can you give us some range?" Because Gary Busey had enough range for everybody. He almost overshadowed Patrick Swayze in that film. That's how big of a character he is.
Yeah. I mean, he did. I mean, that's Gary Busey, and it's such a shame that people have kind of relegated him to more gimmicky and they said off of the things outside of acting now.
Right.
Where he does like the commercial with the the Geico commercial with the fishing line?
Yeah.
And they have the dollar and stuff like that. Oh, you almost got it. Oh, you almost got it.
Well, at least he can still bank. I mean, he can still bank a little bit off it. It is kind of a shame to see such a wonderfully talented actor and such a nuanced performer.
Right.
And
the biggest shame is that he doesn't remember.
He was kind of relegated to the hill of Hollywood goofballs.
Right. That was going to say the biggest shame is he doesn't remember most of his performances.
Right.
Yeah,
he doesn't remember being like people are. He's had some other issues, because of drug abuse and accidents and whatnot. That he just really punch drunk doesn't even begin to explain it.
Right.
He somebody, I forget who was doing an interview, but they were asking about some of his performances in Lethal Weapon and in these movies. He's like, I don't remember. I was in those, huh? Interesting. He didn't recall.
Such a shame.
There's a scene in Surviving the Game that I love with him, and I think makes the movie when he's telling the story about when he's basically telling his story about when he was a kid and the dog that he had and the way his father raised him, and he's telling the story to Ice-T, and essentially he's telling the story to Ice-T. Everyone at the table has already heard the story, but what he brings in just this monologue. In the money, just when he's recounting the story of his childhood, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Little bits and pieces there, you can see what he brings to it. It's innate. It's just the way he naturally approaches the thing. I don't even think it just kind of occurs, and that's why I think he's one of the greatest understated actors of all time, just because it's just completely natural to him. These things just come together. It's like being a savant. You don't know how it comes together. You don't even plan for it to come together. Just every time you do it, it works.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what worked in this one. When you show up, you think about this. I know Eugene, we all had experiences. You have a script, and rule number one for actors is you're a slave to the script. The script is where the story is. You tell the story of the script. That is what you do. And you rarely, unless you've got the leeway from the director, unless you've kind of paid your dues, you don't step outside of the script. We're here to shoot you performing the script. Now, sometimes when you're in comedy, you get ad libs or you get flubs, or it's a bad take and you can make jokes and it's fun. But generally, what you say is what appears in the script. And there may be some edits there, or the director may say, "Hey, drop this out of that, give the line like this. Let's see it take that way." But these are on the fly,
right?
Typically, ad lib, especially just ad libbing your stuff as you go, not a great sign. Because Marlon Brando would do that shit. It's one of the reasons why the Island of Dr. Moreau was such a god awful production, because he's such a disaster. Yes, because of Marlon Brando. And then you try to think of Frankenheimer, and then butting heads with Brando trying to get that shit done, trying to get that production done. I can't imagine what kind of a nightmare though, especially doing this all like the jungle. Yeah. Insane. But Busey comes in and ad-libs almost every word you see in that. None of that appears in the script. Especially after editing, not a word he spoke in the way he did, not a sentence he delivered was in the script. And the director and even King thought that what Gary Busey did was so much better than what was written.
Mm-hmm.
And brought so much character to it and made Uncle Red one of the best parts of that movie that they let him do it. They just kept it all in. It's like, wow, holy shit. That's when the actor comes in and essentially just off the top of his head makes your movie better. Just, says, wow, it's not like Gary Busey looked down and said, this writing sucks. It's like, I think he would say this. And he just says it. And it's better. That's that wild genius of the man.
And I think that...
Go ahead, Eugene.
And I think you stated it right there, where it's not coming from, you'll have these actors, and I've dealt with actors like this, and where they're just, I don't like the script because I want to do this, and it becomes like an ego thing.
Right. I don't like the script, and why the fuck did you agree to do the movie?
I remember that bouncer he had to work with on Nail Gun.
Yeah, that was a fucking asshole.
But you sit there, you'll get on some of these, like the latest Men in Black movie, where they had to, both of them hated Liam Hemsworth, and I can't remember her name, hated the script, and it's just whole this ego thing. Whereas with the way Gary Busey approaches this was hey, let me kind of go, let me try this. Yep. And then every time he kept trying something, it just worked, and it worked, and it worked. And eventually it's just like, you got this, just go.
Yeah, and that's the thing about, if you look at, there are very few actors who can do this. Robert Downey Jr. is one of them, right? He did it with Iron Man, right? Mm-hmm. Did that. A lot of that shit was off the cuff, and it just worked because Robert Downey Jr. was able to bring that character to life, right? The one that you see, the Playboy.
Wasn't the I Am Iron Man ad-libbed?
Yes. Yeah, he wasn't supposed to say that.
Podium,
at the end of it, he wasn't supposed to say that.
Gotcha.
And then he delivered that line, and then I forget who the director was. He was like, no, let's do this again, but then we need everybody to react to it because it has to stay there. It has to be there because that is exactly what Tony Stark would do because of his ego. So Gary Busey does the same thing. He looks at his characters, and he is not a scriptable person, but it's not because he disrespects the script. Like he'll know the script, and it's just the way a line is delivered, or the way that the intention of the dialogue. He knows how to make it his own, to where it allows him to bring that nuance of his character that he's got in his head. He looks at that Keyes character from Predator and was like, no, he's going to be more of a dick and like a hardcore asshole. How am I going to be able to bring this to life and still honor what's in the script? And he does it. Same thing in Silver Bullet. How am I going to be this affable, lovable character, but still honor the script? And boom, he just does it. Like I said, that's the genius of Gary Busey. Whether it's an accident or not, he seems to manage to do it every single time, every single character.
Well, in interviews, he said that he felt a really deep kinship with Uncle Red, with the character of Uncle Red.
Right.
It's just a matter of that he's the bridge between the kid who says there's a monster and no one believes him, but then the affable, never really grew up, kind of irresponsible, fun, kind of like the bon vivant Epicurean Uncle Red says, and even he has those moments where it's like, you're asking me to really suspend disbelief. He was like, my disbelief in this. I mean, I get imagination. I get to like this, but are you sure it wasn't? And then, but still, first one to believe him. First one to even give him the benefit of the doubt that he may have seen something. We're not going to say it's a werewolf, but maybe you really did see something bad.
Maybe it was a chupacabra.
Who knows? And then I love that he did that. And I might just watching the movie, especially in such a troubled production as this, that he was able to give himself his own arc in the face of the fact that I want to make sure I get the fact that Dan Attias was not the original director of this, and because the original director quit over creative differences, what was going on, and the fact that everyone except for the costume designer and King himself, everyone hated the look of the werewolf.
Gotta say, the werewolf is a little, out of all the werewolves in werewolf films, it's not the best.
So what they say. Okay, so going off the production, what people said about this thing, the werewolf itself is virtually nondescript. It's essentially in broad daylight, in like just full light, it looked like a bear. Is essentially what it looked like. It just looked like a black bear.
Yeah,
and so there was problems with that. The minute they saw this, the minute the costumer or the suit designer, the minute he finished with it, they're like, no, this doesn't work. And then because there were problems with that, they decided the original director, Don Coscarelli, essentially said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and shoot the non-werewolf stuff while you guys figure out that stupid fucking looking werewolf. And so Don Coscarelli is shooting all of the non-werewolf scenes in the film. No idea what the werewolf's going to look like when they finally get it done. King and the guy who created it, the guy actually created the suit. I can't remember his last name, so I think it starts with R.
Not gonna work on this movie.
Rambaldi, Carlo Rambaldi. And Rambaldi's werewolf suit essentially looked like a bear, looked like a person in a bear suit, because King wanted it sleek, nondescript, very shadowy, not a lot of things standing out to say he was like, this is a werewolf. Because when in King's mind, in his literary mind, he's describing how you would read it. Now, essentially, you look at it and it looks misshapen, but it's kind of human, but you don't see enough details to think it's like, wow, it's odd to kind of give you the sense that what you're kind of the kind of uncanny valley is what's going on in King's mind. That, and unfortunately, that does not play to movies.
Right. Yeah. Because of the idea is, I can see that, because the idea being, well, it needs to be something that's real, that is real, but is off in a way that only a certain mind would see it as being off. and make that connection that it's not that no, that's not a bear, that's a werewolf.
Right. Like,
you know
okay, I think a good comparison is Jeepers Creepers. Is when the kids are driving by and they see the creeper and he chucks the body down the pipe and then he turns around and looks at him. From that distance, it looks like a dude, but there's something off. And it's like the dimensions of the way the jacket sat on him and the hat and the posturing, because we know that it's postured like that because the fucker's got like a 15-foot wingspan that is hiding underneath that jacket. There's something off about the way it physically is standing there. So it looks human, but you know decidedly that it isn't. There's something wrong about that. And it's just like that Uncanny Valley. In literary form, that works. But you've got, I mean, come on. That werewolf inside in Silver Bullet, not a werewolf. That would really look like a bear.
Yeah.
The Howling is how you do a werewolf.
The Howling, yeah.
Or American Werewolf in London.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, when American Werewolf in Paris looks better than your werewolf.
That thing was like, that's all it was. That's why I love the Howling werewolves. Those fuckers were scary.
Yep.
Huge. Woolly. I mean, that's why I love those ones so much. And I mean, with this troubled production, you've got a director that leaves midway. So now we're looking at an Island of Dr. Moreau situation, before that ever took place.
Right.
And then you've got complications between them. The new director comes in, and the new director just kind of acquiesces because he's under pressure. And I know Eugene, you could speak to shit like this that goes on. When the director bounces, obviously there's contractual shit that's problematic with that, but he bounces. Now we've got a movie that's halfway through production, no fucking director, problems with we have most of the shit that we shot has no consideration for what the fucking monster is going to look like. No one can agree on the monster thing. The guy who wrote the shit and Stephen King is saying one thing, Ribaldi won't budge, and he won't make a new one. So what the fuck do we do? So he comes in and the new guy is under pressure to finish the damn film, try to bring it in under budget, and get the fucking thing released.
That's a horrible situation. I don't know many examples where a director came in halfway through or towards the end and it came out good. There's a handful. You get Victor Fleming was really good at cleaning up films. He did Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz. You have, like I said, a few others. Kurt Russell, Under the Table, directed Tombstone, even though he wasn't supposed to.
Right.
Those are very few. I think the exception to the rule. But you come in, and the problem is when you read a script, everybody pictures it differently. If all three of us are given the same script, we're all going to picture something different. And as a director, it's your job to get everybody on page with your vision. Well, half the vision's already been made by somebody else.
Right.
So if you're trying to maybe accent maybe a little nuance of this character, or you're thinking about this pacing or that pacing or something like that, and then you're like, well, you can't because 3/4 of the scene of one character is already shot.
Right.
So you just have to kind of roll and you're trying to fill in the gap. Do you put your own twist on it? Or do you try to put yourself maybe in the previous director's shoes and try to understand his vision? It's a rough situation.
How would you go about that, Eugene? I mean, so you get pulled into a project that's halfway to 3/4 of the way finished, at least halfway shot, and the important dramatical elements are there, but you've got to fill in the gaps to make everything fit. How would you approach that? Would you say, I'm going to put Eugene's stamp on, or I'm going to kind of put my shoes in on the side and figure out what the previous director is going to do, see if I can't meet that vision? What would you do?
I think it's a little bit of a sliding scale. Like I wouldn't necessarily go full on what the original director is doing, but obviously, like I wouldn't have the time to flesh out my own vision. So it'll probably be a married in between. And that's why it's just a tough situation, because usually a married vision between a couple of directors doesn't necessarily work on it. So, I mean, for what I would do in that situation, obviously you watch all the dailies and try to pick up some kind of nuances. You're going through the script, and then the first thing is just complete it. honestly just finish it.
Just get it done.
Yeah, I think just get it done. Will it be your masterpiece? Probably not.
You can always Alan Smithy that motherfucker.
Yeah.
That guy's directed a lot of movies.
That's always an option. Just Alan Smithy that motherfucker. And I mean, and one thing I think is cool that people should know when they go and watch this movie is Everett McGill. The character actor Everett McGill is fantastic. I love the dude. I loved him in Twin Peaks. I especially loved him in People Under the Stairs. He was great. Like, I got him. You know, yeah, the dude in the gimp suit. So Everett McGill is fantastic. And Everett McGill played the preacher, played the reverend in this one who was becoming the werewolf. And it kind of convinces himself that the work he's doing is God's work, which is interesting because there's kind of a parallel to a previous series that we talked about, Midnight Mass, which is interesting because that's how he gets over the guilt of doing what he's doing, is like he's actually doing the Lord's work.
I just murdered somebody, but God told me to, so
God wouldn't have given me this ability if he didn't mean for me to use it.
Right.
So it's really, how we justify that kind of shit.
Right.
And so there was a De Laurentiis, the producer of the film. They originally hired a modern dance actor to portray the werewolf in the stunt scenes. And De Laurentiis was like, what?
I just got this weird image of that fucking bear wolf doing like pirouettes and shit. Fucking doing some ballet shit.
So fucking what he does is they watch him and he's performing the stunts, and De Laurentiis was like, no, this is ridiculous. This is so dumb. It's like it wasn't right. It wasn't coming out right. It just looked goofy. So because there was no really other option, that's Everett McGill in that suit doing that shit in the movie because they couldn't find anybody else. And then they were just like, fuck it. Everett McGill's the actor, doing the character. Maybe it'll translate that kind of like the characterization, the physicality, the kind of look, the eyes of the monster. Maybe there's some hallmarks of Everett McGill in there. So they put Everett McGill in the suit and had him do all the shit, which I think was actually one of the smarter choices in that, because at least there was some, it was like, I can see it has kind of a narrative McGill or an Everett McGill narrative kind of vibe to it. Just the way it moves, the way it looks at things, the way it's reacting to stuff is very similar to his own physicality. So I think that helped to translate. But, when you sign on just to play this and you think you're walking in, you're like, I'm going to be the human version. And then they're going to do the special, like someone else is going to be the werewolf. And all of a sudden you wind up in the fucking suit yourself, getting tossed around. You're like, I think that is one of the reasons why acting is so much fun, because you never know what the fuck is going to happen, and sometimes we directors have to come up with shit just to be like, fuck, hey, you want to do this? Sure, I'll do my own stunts. Why not? I did that one time. I was like, damn it, we need to do a stunt where somebody rolls down the stairs. I've never rolled down the stairs, but we needed somebody to do it, and I was like, fuck it, I'll do it. Why not? Don't do shit like that without training, because that hurt like a bitch. And obviously I thought I did it right. I was kind of like, I think I watched a couple of YouTube videos. I was like, how do I do this? How do I go? Okay, tuck my elbows, square my shoulder, tuck my elbows, roll my shoulders, and kind of like get my hips over so I can kind of control my torso. I had no idea what I was fucking doing. And I got hurt. I banged up my hips, I banged up my elbows. I almost cracked my head on the steps, got lucky, but sometimes you do that. That's what's fun. That's the fun about acting.
Sometimes you almost die.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious, despite all of these things, we got a pretty decent werewolf movie, but I want to ask the audience, Jinju, have you ever heard of a werewolf doing a pirouette? Only when you shoot them with silver buckshot. Then they pirouette just fine. So I want to ask the audience of this one, and we have a lot of King fans out there as well. Did you prefer the film Silver Bullet or the book Cycle of the Werewolf? Which one did you like the best? Which one stands out? I think the book was okay, and I think that the adaptation was okay. It doesn't fall into the absolute crap, because at least you had talented people working on this production. You had smart people on this production, and you had Gary Busey, who I think honestly saved the fucking movie.
Yeah.
So which one did you prefer more? Did you prefer the book or the film this time around? Let us know in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com. So Eugene, we are live, just to remind you. What's happening? What do we have up next?
This is a fantastic film. I loved this film when I watched it.
I did too until the sequel came out.
The sequel's his own genre, but this one, the original, we have Happy Death Day that was released October 13th, 2017, and it was directed by Christopher Landon, and it stars Jessica Roth, Israel Broussard, Israel Broussard, and Ruby Modine. There you go. And basically, I'm gonna go with it. There we go. The main name to remember is Jessica Roth on it. And basically, what it is a slasher film, and the final girl basically has to relive the day over and over. So every time she dies, the day restarts. So it's kind of like a slasher film meets Groundhog's Day.
Yes,
on it. And this
brilliant
film
concept.
And I mean this film is fantastic because one of the big things when you look at the concept of the Groundhog Day and the time looping can get old really fast, like really fast. And
I think I'm a god.
Yeah, it's like, oh, keep going. But they always kept ways to make it interesting, and on top of that, it allowed the main character tree to grow every single time as her character progresses throughout the movie on it. Obviously, you got to find out who the killer is and all this other kind of stuff on it. But it was fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, this is talking about it. Obviously, gave me that Groundhog Day. I was like, oh man, it's pretty fun because hey, who was a groundhog, by the way, in the Happy Death Day? Nobody?
Who was the groundhog?
Yeah, who do we think who would be the groundhog in Happy Death Day? Can't be the roommate because roommates. Well, I'm not going to spoil anything, but no, can't do the roommate. It's got to be what's his name? The goofy Asian kid. What is his name?
The one that comes in at the very beginning, who keeps coming in and says, "Hey, did you?"
Yeah.
The kid who busts in and sees Tree there when she's getting dressed.
Right. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, well, he definitely has a part to do with it in the sequel.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about the sequel.
Well, the thing that makes Happy Death Day so great. I mean, we're talking one thing. I think what Jason Blum was talking about is that the idea, or was it? It was Scott Lobdell as well was talking about the idea of a girl trying to solve her own murder over and over and over again. Or basically who keeps dying over and over again, and attempts to to try and stop it, has to solve her own murder, which I thought was really, really interesting. And then it uses this.
It's a good concept, yeah.
The Groundhog Day concept. So we see the perfect melding, or I would say the perfect melding of two legendary film concepts here, and that you have the kind of dramatic and comedic growth of the character through circumstance, very similar to Groundhog Day. One of the more interesting parts of Groundhog Day with Bill Murray was all the ways he was trying to kill himself.
Right.
Just the variability, just like stepping. I think stepping in front of the truck was one of my favorites. One just the waves by. And I mean,
the groundhog driving. That was pretty good too.
Don't drive angry. He might be okay. Yeah, probably. And then he films it.
Yeah.
He brings the camera.
Yep.
But Groundhog Day was fantastic. Then I.B. Gentry brought it up. Supernatural did it as well. Supernatural brought up when Sam was trying to save Dean because Dean was dying every single day, and they were in a time loop, stuck in a time loop by a trickster god. And all the way, I didn't want to spoil. I didn't want to. Yeah, it goes so deep. That's another rabbit trail we don't need to go down. And all the different ways that Dean was dying that made that one hilarious. Not to mention, it was it was ABBA.
I have no idea. I've never seen Supernatural.
The song, I think the song that plays, Heat of the Moment.
Oh, that's not ABBA. Heat of the
Who
Moment.
is it?
That's oh god.
Shit, I fucked it up. Music people are gonna hate me.
Asia.
Asia. Sorry, I knew it was an A. Sorry, but why did I think ABBA? Fuck, people are gonna throw eggs at me now. But Asia, and and so that's the song that plays at the beginning of every single, like Dean wakes up and Sam wakes up and it's heat of the moment, like every single day. So, and it's funny. And then this one, what Tree did here is that you have the music of her phone, I guess the alarm on her phone going off. The boyfriend.
You notice how all three of them have that, right? That's like this. That's the reoccurring theme in the three examples you've given. Because
woken up by music.
Day, Groundhog Day was "I Got You, Babe."
It was the car. It was Sonny and Cher.
Cher,
Well, it's a trigger, and so whenever you do something like a Groundhog Day concept on it, you have to establish a minimum of 3 things so that people realize that it's a consistent loop on it. Now, obviously, a lot of these films will establish more, and music is just a good key. Like it's just a good trigger.
Well, so I like the fact that it was "I Got You, Babe" in Groundhog Day. That's like it's an audio clue. Like you're stuck here. You know what I mean?
And there's what is it? It's interesting. I like that. I like that, Eugene, what you're talking about there, because it is that trigger. And the more often you hear it, even if you love the song, you hear it too many times in a row, it becomes infuriating.
Yeah.
And it connects you with the protagonist in their moment of how infuriating this is. Then you get into a concept. It's kind of like, well, when they addressed it in Supernatural, Dean was like, "How many times have you been through this?" And he was like, 167. So 167 times Sam has woken up after Dean died. Sam wakes up and hears that damn song. And sometimes Dean dies very quickly, and then he wakes up. So it's like it's Asia over and over and over. And you can imagine how and I think that's a good way of breaking, not only just a trigger, we're kind of like a resetting of the energy and the momentum of where we're going, because we have no idea where it's going to go next, which makes it really interesting. You're right. And then, of course, connects you to the protagonist itself. It's a fantastic trope. I mean, it's brilliantly done. I wonder, and I didn't look into this. Now I'm curious. I'm curious. It didn't start. This trope didn't start with Groundhog Day with Bill Murray and Ivan Reitman. This has got to be something that the Twilight Zone or
the timing
X-Files had an episode like that too.
X-Files had one 94, but I think it was 94, 95 when the X-Files did one.
Was Outer Limits? Outer Limits had one similar.
Outer Limits had one. This has got to be something.
So.
Yeah,
I think the Outer Limits did. I'm not for certain, but it was the Outer Limits or the new, or I guess the second iteration of Twilight Zone.
And then, of course, combining this fantastic idea, would you do things differently if you had the opportunity to do it again? And the unpredictability of the future, would you do this? Well, if you come to an end, it was like, well, is the end that you're coming to the one you really want? Because you have no idea what the alternative is. Yeah, you might be alive, but things could be worse.
And I think this is what really sets this film apart is Tree. Because first of all, Jessica Ross's performance is amazing.
She was amazing.
Yeah, she's like very underrated.
Yeah, she plays this awesome kind of goofy kid, but serious all the same. Yeah, you could see being. She was a freshman or a sophomore in college. I can't remember.
I can't remember. She was at least a sophomore.
I think she was a sophomore. Yeah. Did you notice how her character growth and her arc, the intensity and depth of the intensity and depth of her character growth after each death was kind of like. What's the word? Had a direct correlation with the manner, with the level of violence and protraction of her murder in the previous in the previous loop. So if her death was quick and sudden, bam, and she was gone, it didn't really result in much reflection. So it was kind of like and then she was more frustrated than she was. But if her death was long, protracted, painful, if she saw it coming. And it took longer, like when she was in the car, and when she was trapped in the car, and then before the thing exploded. When the killer blew up the car, she had more reflection after that. That it was like, in essence, contemplating one's death long when she was forced to endure it or feel the pain of it, and it took longer for her to die, resulted in more complex and deep character change for her. That there was a direct correlation between the two, which I thought, as far as the writing goes, was a brilliant little piece of nuance.
Yeah, absolutely, because her character is what sells this film. And her character arc is amazing. You see the growth, and she may be one of the most fleshed out final girls we've ever seen in horror.
Yep.
I mean, hands down, just the amount of characterization where she's coming to terms with her family, she's coming in terms with her friends, she's coming in terms with the boy she likes, she's coming in terms of just life in general through all this loops, because she's getting more pieces of the puzzle, and it just every time it changes her. Because like I said, a slasher concept, Groundhog Day, could get old, it could get stale very easily. But when you have a character that is so interesting, it keeps you engaged.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing like Bill Murray and Groundhog Day. That movie would have sucked if it wouldn't have been for such a good performance. Same thing with Happy Death Day. If we didn't care about this character, it would have just been repetitive. We would have got bored halfway through it. It's like we would have turned it off and just, done something else.
Right. What was this? Someone said, "Oh, Archangel 3. Good to see you, Archangel 3." And I see that Robert Caslow popped in there, and I see Sir Little Wolf popped into the chat. Good to see all of y'all. Thank you for joining us.
Alpha K91 as well.
Alpha K91. Thank you very much. Thank you so much to see you. Good to see you, Alpha. And I see Archangel 3 says 1408 had a similar musical interlude playing with a few differences also. That was the Carpenters.
Yep.
In 1408. Right. So, and notoriously, someone who's what's her first name, Johnny?
Which one? Karen Carpenter?
Karen Carpenter.
Yeah.
So Karen Carpenter, who ultimately we know the circumstances of her death, but the circumstances beyond her control, the things that were going on in her life, which is an interesting choice, because if you know the story of Karen Carpenter and her tragic end, kind of mirrors the shit that he's going through in that sense, where the circumstances of his life are dominating him, and that he has merely reacted to shit in the worst of ways, which I thought was an interesting. That's what made that song so creepy for me. It's because I was familiar with the story of Karen Carpenter. But yeah, I dug. I thought this. I agree with you, Johnny. I think that the second film, the sequel, was more kind of catering to audiences of today than trying to deliver something. I mean, this one delivered something interesting. The time loop slasher movie, which I thought was great. And of course, without Happy Death Day, we wouldn't have gotten Freaky. So where Vince Vaughn's slasher or serial killer swaps bodies with a high school cheerleader. Which I thought was a revelation.
Where they're in the kitchen, and he's got to do the do the cheer.
Dude, when he's in the car with her, when he's sitting in the car in the back seat with the guy who's like attracted to her, and she's just like, "Do you mind if I come back there and sit there? I'm stretching my neck here." It's like, "Oh yeah," and then he gets out of the car, and Vince Vaughn is like, "Oh, he's next to me." I was like, "Oh shit!" Vaughn was amazing. Well, I mean, I love that he brought that in there. It was so fucking great. That I love that Happy Death Day brought us this kind of it kind of punched a hole for a new level of genre where we can take the comedic stuff that we've grown to love and we can just make them into horror movies. And I thought that I love that shit. I mean, that's what I think what makes this movie so fucking amazing. You can apply the situation. That's what and the fact that Happy Death Day can be, like you said, horror can adapt. The horror aspect of Happy Death Day allows it to adapt better than I think comedy really does, or even drama really can. Because drama is just kind of a reflection of just a particular emotion, whereas horror allows us to vicariously deal with the shit that we're afraid of, that is causing us anxiety. And this particular, just like in Groundhog Day, where you're dealing with a guy at a crossroads in his life, and he's got to come to terms with himself. It's kind of like almost like an expression of a midlife crisis. You're stuck in this moment that you can't get out of, and you've got to break out of it. And then that's what Bill Murray is going through. And then, of course, in this particular one, you got the horror of essentially the kind of vicious cycle that Tree has not realized she's gotten herself into. This is a modern concept. This is a modern social convention. The concepts of social media, how it separates us instead of bringing us together. All culminating and not even realizing that the effect that you're having on them because the people aren't there in front of you. The shit you say online, the shit that you say in text messages, does not come across than when you're standing in front of a person talking, that these things that are meant to bring us together and increase our connectivity are actually tearing us apart, which is why Tree doesn't even realize that it's her fucking roommate who's trying to kill the woman she shares a room with. Is trying to kill you. People have seen this. Came out in 2017. People have seen this. And
we had like 5 people comment, "Man, I can't wait to watch this film."
I have not.
Let's see.
I've got to stop looking at the screen. I got to start looking at the chat more often. If I did that, holy shit! If I fucking spoiled it, I'm so sorry.
I need to watch it one day. Thank you.
Wait, what's happening? Next one. Oh shit! Our moratorium is 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not 5 years old.
Fuck, it's 4 years. This came out in 2017. Shit. Spoilers
Charlie Welch says, well, I was going to watch it.
Wow.
Alpha K91 says, haven't seen it. Spoiler, man. Travis Brown, I have not seen it.
I was going to watch it. Fuck.
Watch it anyway. It's still good.
There's a reason why I didn't say what I was going to say earlier when I stopped myself from saying it can't be the roommate because, well, I'll leave that here because no spoilers.
Yeah, that was a spoiler.
Nerd Journal says party foul.
Okay. I am so sorry. The movie's only 4 years old instead of 5. We do here at Week in Horror. We have a 5-year moratorium on spoilers. So, fuck. I am sorry. I made it 3 seasons. I made it 3 seasons without spoiling a movie like that. So this is the first one. This is the first like blatant like spoilery shit. I'm sorry.
5 demerits. 5 demerits. Jail.
I fucked up.
Go. Even though JL spoiled it, go watch it anyway. It's still a good one.
It's really is a good one.
Yeah, it's still a fantastic one, and there's still more to learn. Obviously, there's a sequel that goes along with this, and there's more stuff. So
there's
unfortunately,
another one. There's going to be a third one. Happy Death Day to you, or not to you? That was the second one. It was the
Happy Death Day to us.
Is it to us
or to all? Happy Death Day to all.
I just looked at it a second ago.
Yes, Glober Mom. Oh wait, no, sorry, no, that's right. No last name says do not recommend, 1-star, unsubscribe. And Glober Mom says, JL Warren, you have one job. One job, you spoiled it. How dare you? Yeah, I fucked up. Alpha K91, here I come with a rolled up copy of Vogue. Whap whap, bad dog, JL, bad boy.
Well, it did. So I guess the third one.
Archangel 3, personal foul. Premature spoiler, 15 yards from the spot of the foul, automatic first down. Travis Brown says, if you got a neuralizer with you, JL, to help with the spoilers. Whoops. I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. My co-host will punish me. My co-host will throw me in a burlap sack and beat me with reeds. Later on,
that.
So
you'll enjoy that. That's what you get if you don't spoil the movie.
Yeah.
Charlie Welch like, I was gonna watch it. Fuck. Damn, I fucked up so bad. Please don't hate me. Oh, dang it. Oh,
we got to tell Alex, too, when he comes back.
Well, I was going to give the fact that this thing allows us to address modern social conventions and the idea that, the generation today, what they're dealing with and stuff. But, I fucked it up. So, shit. So, hey, how about this? Let's just jump to the CTA.
All right, JL. What's the question?
So
it's Eugene.
I know. I just wanted to see if you'd fuck up again.
No.
So once again, definitely it's still worth watching. If you get a chance to watch it, you'll still enjoy it. There's a sequel too. And also now there's a third film coming out. What we would like to know is, are you looking forward to a third film? Yes or no? Is 2 enough? Or should there be a third film on it? I mean, I'm going to see it anyway, so it's not like I have a choice in the matter. But
2 is too much. We should have just left it at 1.
They should have left it 1.
Oh, but you know you're going to watch the third one because when
it comes out on Netflix or Amazon Free or something, I'm not going to pay to watch it because 2 fucked that up for me.
Oh, Sarcasm says officially public humiliation is jail's kink.
That's true. Sarcasm knows.
But definitely let us know. You're right, Travis Brown. A trilogy can kill a series, so we're curious.
So can a sequel.
And yes, Robert Caslow, Roth will be in the third one. She has already signed on for it. So
I'm going to watch it for Jessica Roth. I mean,
right.
that's
yeah.
Right
she's a good performance.
Mm-hmm.
And she's
the naked skydive in the second one was actually pretty fucking funny. That was
she's nice.
Where she died right in front of them, like they're sitting on the bench, and it's just like boom, it just flat.
You know the thing that wasn't gory enough because if you're falling from that high,
from 10,000 feet,
all the way to your demise, I think your bones would be powder.
Essentially, yeah. All your insides are going to be on the outside.
You look like scrambled eggs.
Like, you'd almost, right. You'd almost vaporize.
No, you wouldn't vaporize.
No, I know you wouldn't. I said almost. Damn it.
It'd just be. It'd be chunky. You would need like a spatula.
But definitely let us know in the comments below or weekinhorror@gmail.com. Yeah. Are you looking forward to a third entry in this film, or is 2 enough? Is 2 going in the wrong direction? But let us know what you think. Johnny,
Nerd Journal.
Take it. What did Nerd Journal say? I want to join the movie as an extra. Hopefully, I could be a tree hugger.
All right, I think I picked the right one here. We're looking at the 2009 film Triangle. Oh boy. Psychological thriller film written and directed by Christopher Smith, starring Melissa George and Michael Dorman. It's an interesting film. George portrays a single mother who goes on a boating trip with several friends. When they are forced to abandon their ship, they board a derelict ocean liner where, as Eugene likes to say,
shit gets real.
I did not get to finish this one, but I watched parts of it. And I have to say, the parts that I did watch were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting.
So don't tell me how it ends, JL.
Not going to tell you how it ends.
JL's going to be too scared to talk. He's going to be like, this movie's good.
Yes.
It's really good.
I like this movie. Please watch it. But JL, get into the nuance of the character development. The character development was nuanced.
I will say. I mean, I first watched this one when I think I came across it in 2012 when I first saw it, and it was kind of, let's know, it's a British horror film, and just our access to British horror, it takes time for these things to kind of make their way through the cycle and get to us.
Unless there's the more popular ones like 28 Days, and even that would take a little bit to get to us, but yeah.
And that was so I mean, it took me a while to find it, and I think I found it at random. I think it was on like because occasionally, if I'm bored on a weekend, I'll jump on the Microsoft store and just like go through all, because they have like shit tons of movies that get released. Now I can do it on Amazon as well, and just look for horror films that I've never seen or never heard of. It's like, what the hell did this come from? I found some real fucking stinkers this way, but I found some gems, and I found this one buried in it. I was like, okay, because the image that I saw was just the bag character that you see on the movie poster was just that with an axe. I was like, oh, okay, so we have an axe slasher, Triangle. I have no idea what this is about. They're like this, wait, girl on a boat. That's how it starts. Melissa George getting on the boat with her friends, and then the deeper it got, the not just a slasher film, but an exploration of, like I say, an exploration of the horrors of human nature. And this one really, really got me. Now, I don't know how much I could say because I don't know how far you made it into the movie. Because I mean, you jumping from bit to bit.
So, the way that I have to watch film is I have to turn it on and then let it play as I'm doing 15,000, especially with this, with Jocelyn and Erica both having the C word, the stuff, the junk, the Rona. I haven't been able to like hyper focus on anything. And then, I had to go back to work. So it's been really crazy. So I'll turn it on and then it'll play and I'll watch and listen as I'm doing whatever. And then because I'm watching this one on Amazon, it does, the free with commercials. So I would try and get up during a commercial and go do something. Of course, by the time I got back to the film, the commercial had already played and it has already been like, 20 minutes of the film had gone through. So I would try and go back to find it. That's kind of how I have to do it right now. So I'm into the part. I think I got to the part where one character tried to kill what's her name? He was all covered in blood and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where I'm at. I don't remember. I don't know exactly where that is in the film, but that's where I got.
Well, dang.
I know this one, like I said, this one looked really good. I was really intrigued by it, especially the way it started. Just kind of the whole film. It looks really, it's really crisp. It's really. I like Melissa George. I think she's a terrific actress. Excuse me. And your recommendation of the film, I was really looking forward to be able to sit down and watch this. I just did not get the opportunity to complete it in a full sitting.
What about you, Eugene?
I was able to make about 3/4 of the way through on it. But I definitely enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it up to the point, like I said, so don't spoil the ending on it. But I really, really enjoyed it. And I like films that kind of start messing with you on it. When, like I said, I don't want to go too deep into it, even though this is past our 5-year spoiler alert thing. I definitely don't even want to spoil up to the point where it's an interesting concept. It's where she tosses somebody over, she swings, somebody falls off the cruise ship, and then she goes and it looks like a mirror, and the camera goes through, and you realize it's like two people, and it kind of follows, and it's kind of, you realize it kind of starts looping and everything like that.
The concept of deja vu, right?
Yeah, the concept of deja vu, which is
constantly haunting her.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Obviously, triangle they're talking about it's an allusion to the Bermuda Triangle. Let's talk about the elephant in the room.
I can't say anything. I can't because
contractually obligated not to talk anymore.
No, I will say, okay, this thing came out in 2009. So
but
there is something that I have to be able to say about this. So
it's a British film. You got to remember. I'm just saying, 2009 British film for the American audiences is like 2015. Just keep that in mind.
It's still, this is 2021, so there's still a 5-year. We're still beyond the 5-year. So so I can talk about this movie. If my co-hosts need to take their headphones off so that nothing gets like kind of wrecked for them, I promise I won't give away what's going on. I mean, the concept of the film. Okay, hang on a sec.
Spoiling Warren.
The concept of the film. So it centers around a woman who is. The way Melissa George brings this is as almost in kind of an ethereal, almost dreamlike performance in the sense that she's almost walking through a haze. Like she's uncertain of things. She's slow to respond to things. She's trying to figure things out. That's because her character is being overwhelmed by this growing sense of deja vu, that she's been here and done this before. And the idea becoming that, she gets in the boat, everything seems to be going fine. Then all of a sudden the storm comes out of nowhere, capsizes the little yacht that they're on. And then all of a sudden a boat comes out of nowhere. This ocean liner comes out of the fog, and the ship is called the Aeolus. For those who are familiar with that name, this will begin to kind of make sense for the kind of movie that this is. So the ship comes out, they end up boarding the ship. Jess, George's character, glimpses somebody up on board. So the ship is occupied, but there's very little details here. They get up, and apparently to them, it's like, wow, this is a ghost ship. But Jess keeps getting this growing sensation that things are very, very familiar. In essence, if you look at if you're familiar, that name right there on the ship is what told me what kind of movie this was going to be. And that's why it's a deep exploration of the human condition, and why I love Melissa George's performance in this. It's in essence that the vast majority of the time when we're walking through life, when we are just dealing with shit, we are dealing with shit reactively. That we are simply reacting to the stimuli that we have. We're not really thinking that far ahead. Life is a chess game, but more often than not, people are just playing checkers. And essentially, we're just reacting to stuff. But once we're finally aware of what's going on, when we start seeing the forest, and you stop looking at the trees, then all of a sudden, we start trying to deal with shit. But it's our lack of preparedness, our lack of emotional awareness of what's going on, and then we start trying to overcorrect, like a drunk driver trying to overcorrect the car, or someone on ice trying to jerk, not realize what they need to do and panicking and jerking the wheel in the opposite direction. This is what happens. And this is what we deal with. This is obviously in the movie Triangle taken to its greatest extreme, in which she is trying to reconcile what is going on the ship, what her role is in it, the events that led up to her being on the ship.
Isn't this more of an allegorical conversation, though? Because her struggle is not.
I can't answer that question without spoiling the ending of the film.
I know you can't, but I can. Okay, what I will say is that it's important to know that there is a conversation that is going on with this film. That if you're looking, there are two ways to look at it. One is just enjoy it as it is, and then the second way would be to look at the conversation that you are having with this film as an audience member watching what this main character is going through. If you have dealt with the types of things that I have dealt with, being a parent of someone who, I'm trying to think how I can code this, that people who, anyway, being the parent of the son that I have, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm not saying it's good, okay, but I recognize, at least in the cursory, like the passings of what was going on, I recognized some of the conversation that's being had with Melissa George's character, and how she's struggling to react appropriately to the stimuli of what's going on around her. And that's important because of the underlying conversation that's going on there, because of the way the JL, because of what JL's talking about, not being able to spoil the ending of this film. He doesn't want to say a word.
Well, I mean, there are two concepts that the film addresses. I think I could bring them up, which I think I bring them up without giving too much away. As to what is going on at the end, is that there's a lot of Greek allegory, as just evidenced by the name Aeolus, which is the name of the boat. There's a lot of Greek allegory here. There is a lot of allegory to the plight of Sisyphus, and almost a kind of king reference here, which I found to be really interesting. Was that you see in another movie that was mentioned tonight in the live chat, 1408, repetition.
Mm-hmm.
The Sisyphean task of rolling the fucking boulder up the hill, only to have it roll back down.
Right.
Yeah.
Constantly, over and over again, to be condemned to do this thing. And that essentially is how we reconcile with that. But we can say that that is essentially a reflection of what we do in our everyday lives. And we don't recognize that but that's why we keep doing it. We can stand outside of the situation and we can look at it and say, this is insane. Why do you keep doing this? But when you're in it.
Yeah. Outside looking in is different, right?
Yeah. When you're in it, you don't see it. You can't see the absurdity of it because of either your emotional investment or your distraction or simply not seeing the forest for the trees. The inability to see the bigger picture on these types of things. And I thought that's why George's performance, and there's a moment where she recognizes where essentially she's going through this whole reacting to shit until that moment dawns on her, and you see it when it hits her, when things, the gears suddenly fucking turn, and you just kind of like, and she realizes, you had all this time, but now you don't have this time.
Right.
And then once again, she is reacting and rushing to catch up and rushing to handle it. Just their inability to deal with these things. It's a beautifully written and portrayed. Melissa George, a magnificent actress. Loved her ever since I saw her in Dark City.
Oh yeah, she was in Dark City.
Yeah, just a little bit that she brings to roles, and not to mention an stunningly gorgeous actress. And I love it that she's willing to go and she's willing to go hard in the paint for a character. I loved her in 30 Days of Night, and right, and so she had a really, really interesting arc when she was on Grey's Anatomy. But I really dig what she brings to this as the mother and the woman, and how these things are intricately connected, but they are still, in some ways, diametrically opposed. that the state of being a woman and the state of being a mother, they have contradictory aspects to them. They can't be separated. I mean, you can't be one. And a woman is always, and she's a woman, and then she becomes a mother. That's the state of it. But the woman who is the mother and the woman who is not a mother, you just can't connect with these things, and that's why this speaks volumes to the human condition, and why I think that anybody should jump on this. Like, I can't believe y'all didn't finish watching it.
I just spent 6 days on a film set.
I've been cleaning up Biohazard all week, so.
Yes, thank you, Travis Brown. Melissa George was in the Amityville Horror with Deadpool. Her chemistry with Ryan Reynolds was one of the best things about that movie. The special effects,
only good thing about that movie.
Yeah, the special effects, like that, but the two of them playing the Lutzes, I thought was fantastic. They were great. I
just want to go off a tangent here really quick. Ryan Reynolds gets the short end of the stick. Before Deadpool, nobody really respected his chops because they saw him as this goofy kid from Waiting. And you know what I mean? They never really gave him his due. I've always thought he was a very talented actor. Thought there's a lot of roles he could play. I saw this one film, I think it was called Chaos Theory, where he stretched his acting wings a bit more. It was way outside of his normal. I'm playing the goofy, quick-witted Van Wilder type character. He's playing more serious role. I thought it was amazing. Like I said, I don't think he gets the credit that he's due. He's a terrific comedic actor. With Deadpool and whatnot. I mean, he's great. They couldn't have found a better person to play that role of Deadpool. But I think that he is much better. He is much better than just Deadpool.
Well, he's made a brilliant career of being God's perfect idiot.
Well,
which is what that's a hallmark in Deadpool. That's what he was credited as. That's what he in the opening is, like starring God's perfect idiot.
God's perfect idiot, yeah. But no, like I said, I think his chops are much better than what he's been given credit for. And his performance in Amityville Horror was by far, had that not been a remake and a bad remake at that, I think he would have been, we would have looked at him like, man, he gave a really good performance in this film.
Right.
Well, you get that movie Buried, where he was buried alive.
Yeah, that's another one.
That was a great performance.
I thought he was really good in the voices, and the voices, which is both kind of it's a comedy horror. The voices really disturbed my wife because Angela has a brother, a half brother, who suffers from severe schizophrenia, and the hallmarks in that, even though it was Ryan Reynolds being funny. But there were things around it, especially when he goes lucid and you start seeing reality for when he's medicated and you start seeing reality for what it is. And it's horrifying. In his unstable state, everything is roses. Everything makes sense. When he's medicated and he's stable, it's all fucked up. And Angela saw that it was like, this is just it hit a little too close to home for her on that one, which is intriguing out of a horror comedy. So, but yeah, he's a profoundly excellent actor. Alpha Canada 1 says, this is the most relatable Greek legend to me, Sisyphus and his big-ass rock. There was an English version of a man who was condemned to drain a lake using only a limpet shell with 3 holes in it.
Damn.
Some stuff, yeah. And that's why I love Triangle. That's why I think it is an amazingly underrated film. And fantastic deal. And but yeah, let's it's about that time. Do you want to let's hit it since I don't want to give away any spoilers on Triangle for you guys because you've seen it. Let's hit with the CTA.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. So this Triangle, basically we're talking about existentialism here. So lots of different types of horror films, but specifically an existential horror. What is your favorite? Let us know. weekinhorror@gmail.com in the side chat or the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you. Alex, who is, as we all know, taking care of a new baby that's head spins every 20 minutes, needs something to read while he's putting the baby back together, picking up all the shit, and, doing the things that Alex normally does, brushing his hair. He needs something to read. So let us know.
My favorite, I have to say Flatliners.
Interesting.
Flatliners.
Jacob's Ladder's up there.
Yeah.
Jacob's Ladder is up there like a close second, but I loved what Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts,
Yeah.
That was a Stephen Baldwin.
Stephen Baldwin, yeah.
They all brought to that. I thought that was just a fantastic film. Remake was soulless trash, but
The
that
Belko Experiment. That was
Belko Experiment was good. Yeah,
I like the Belko Experiment.
Yeah.
So many good ones out there.
Yeah, lots of good ones.
Definitely. Well, it's getting to be about that time.
Is it? Is it that time?
It's about that time. It's time.
What time is it?
To give stuff away.
It's that time again, everybody. It's trivia
time. This sarcasm says, "Wow, that was such an easy question." I'm going with Jacob's Ladder. Jacob's Ladder was fantastic. I dug Flatliners, going into the depths of yourself and reflecting on the things that the things you can't change and having to reconcile that stuff. Mm-hmm. Self reconciliation is always fascinating to me. So really, really love Flatliners. All right, so yes, it is trivia time. It is the time that you all wait for when we give away free shit.
Mm-hmm.
And for this particular one, we are giving away. Unfortunately, I'm trying to make a concerted effort to increase what kind of stuff we give away on the show. So it's not just like the stuff that we make. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to find anything that kind of met the hallmark of what we were talking about. However, I have found something for next week. So you will see an increase in the quality of prizes that we give away here. But
not that the shirts are not quality, because they are.
Yeah. I just wanted an increase in quality. The shirts that we give are quality as fuck. So what I'm going to do, because I want to do this, is I'm going to resurrect something back from the dead. A limited edition #1 shirt.
Oh.
So not available anymore. Currently out of print. I will be giving away a limited edition #1 shirt.
Which one was that again?
This is the one where I was the zombie and you guys were the guys. I was like, oh, and then
it's
you guys.
The one that Eugene has just worn to death.
Are you still Are you wearing it, Eugene?
No, I don't have it on right now.
Oh, okay. But yes, I will be giving away a limited edition #1 shirt. I will bring it back from the dead this one time, and I will give it away to the winner of our trivia tonight. And the question is
fantastic.
And yes, it is. And the question is, Don Coscarelli, the original director of Silver Bullet before Dan Attias took over the film.
Mm-hmm.
But Don Coscarelli also created what legendary horror franchise?
Ooh.
So Don Coscarelli, who was the original director of Silver Bullet before Dan Attias took over, also created what legendary horror franchise? As you'll notice, this question is a lot easier than last week's was, when nobody could find the
Charlie
answer.
Welch.
Bam, Charlie Welch. I knew it was going to be easy.
Already.
So let me know. Those are going to come in quick since I asked that.
I'm sorry. Wait. Chris Durham, actually, with Bo Derek's Lithuanian Nanny.
That's hilarious. That's fantastic. I knew those answers were going to come in quick. I knew because last week's was it last week's or week before last?
What was that? Oh, it must have been last week's.
Last week's. I don't remember.
No, I think it was last. That's right. It was last week's. Last week's took forever. The answer was John Vincent from Seymour, Sinister Seymour from the old horror show that the one that from Fright Night. The one that Peter Vincent from Fright Night was named after. Everybody thought it was like, oh, it's Peter Cushing and Vincent Price. It's like, no, it was James Vincent who originated the role of Seymour, who hosted a weekend horror show called Fright Night. And then when he passed away, Vampira took over the show, and then Elvira took over the show when Vampira quit. So it was kind of a hallmark, Anyway, nonetheless.
Absolutely. Well, so the correct answer for the podcast listeners is Phantasm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I guess we have to say it.
Yeah, I physically say it for people listening. For people who aren't here, yes, Charlie Welch got it correct. It is Phantasm. And I just want to double check. Ever since that last debacle, I always want to cover my bases. Let's go to. Darn it! 1 second, because I didn't have the I didn't have the fucking live stream pulled up.
What happened?
I didn't have it pulled up on my phone just to check the live chat, and I want to check the live chat and make sure. Here we go. Oh no, that's not right.
You can have two windows open at the same time.
There we go. Yeah, but I want people to know. So here we go. I'm checking the live chat, And just to double check, yes, Chris Durham. Yes, Charlie Welch. Charlie Welch. I almost pulled a Moonlight.
Charlie Welch wants to know. He wants to see the shirt because he says he might already have it. If he does, he is graciously.
It's the one where I'm a zombie, my big ass beard, and I'm the zombie, and Johnny, Eugene, and Alex are like in front of me.
Just put it up on the screen.
Well, I could describe it because it's gonna take me a second because I got it buried in the Week in Horror files. I don't have it like ready to just drop on the stream.
Spoiling shit, unprepared, just
motherfucker.
I mean, I'm not gonna call you motherfucker because I don't know any mothers you fucked. But
how did they become mothers?
Oh.
So you do have children.
Anyway, here we go. It's Charlie Welch. This one. So that is
as we wait for the delay to for him to respond.
So here we go. So that was a limited edition #1 shirt.
Nope, he doesn't have that one.
Awesome.
All
Not
right,
a lot
cool.
of people did because we weren't exactly popular when we first started giving away that shirt. So,
hey, JL, I noticed that your beard was pink, but Eugene's hair isn't.
that's a comment. I don't think I see Eugene's looking at you like he has no idea what you're talking about. No, he's looking at you like he has no idea what you're talking about. So
you hear that bus coming?
So congratulations to Charlie Welch, won himself a limited edition #1 shirt. I'm going to bring that one back from the grave so I can print one out for you and get that over to you. Fantastic. He's got a solid collection going on. 2 shirts and a mug.
Awesome. We should probably bring back those, do a limited run of all the limited edition T-shirts for not for Halloween, for Christmas time.
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'll bring those up. Yeah, reduce prices for them so people can get them for the holidays. Fantastic. Yeah. Good idea. Well, congratulations. Thank you so much, Charlie Welch, with your correct answer at Phantasm. We appreciate y'all's support. I will get that shirt. We will get that shirt printed and out to you ASAP. If you need to update your shirt size for our fan files, just go ahead and message that over to me, and I will make sure that we are up to date so we can get you the right size of shirt.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
And we won't spoil anything.
And that will bring another episode of Week in Horror to a close. Thank you all so much for listening, and we truly hope you enjoyed the show. Join us next week when we look back at The Seventh Curse, Reanimator, God Told Me To, and Antichrist. We'd like to send a special shout out to our amazing patrons who have helped us make the show the success it has become. Thank you so much. Also, be sure to check out Joshua Olsen's new store, www.badsamurai.store. I'll say it again, www.badsamurai.store. Joshua does all the amazing artwork for our limited edition t-shirts and has some amazing new designs that you all will be sure to love. And visit us at weekinhorror.net, where you can find links to all of our episodes, our bios, our merch store at Teespring, and of course, enter your email for a permanent entry to win a mystery horror shirt every month, courtesy of $6shirts.com. For more horror entertainment, be sure to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Followers get our daily splatter, a bit of horror info every day right to your feed. You never know what new horrors you may discover. Subscribe to our channel and smash that bell like a zombie's head for all the latest updates from the show. We really hope you enjoy the new live format. It's not very new anymore, but we really hope you enjoy our live format, and we love to get your feedback. Be sure to let us know in the comments below, as the interactions really help us with the dreaded algorithm. And lastly, if you truly love what we do here and would like to and are able to support our production, you can through our Patreon. We have subscriber tiers as low as $1. Bonus and exclusive content and horror films every month for our higher tiers. However, if you prefer, you can support our show through our PayPal as well. Links to everything, including our Discord community, where you can find film recommendations, trivia games, and horror watch parties, and even interact directly with us, are in the description below.
And while the country's finally beginning to recover from recent events, we know that things are still pretty tight for many people. As always, simply commenting, liking, and sharing this show with the friends in your local horror community is the absolute best way to help us continue to grow. Thank you all so much for being the greatest audience a podcast could ever have. I'm Eugene.
I'm JL.
And I'm that other guy.
We'll see you next week. And as always, stay scared.
Ooh.